Amelia opened her eyes, disoriented, confused. Where was she?
The room was dim, lit by a sliver of sunlight peeking through dusty curtains. The air hung heavy, thick with the smell of mildew and decay. Black Hollow. The name of the town echoed in her mind, a whisper from a nightmare. She was here to find answers, to unravel the mystery surrounding her brother's sudden death.
Her brother, Daniel, a writer drawn to the macabre, had been living in Black Hollow, researching for his latest book. Now he was gone. His last postcard a chilling message. This town has teeth, Amelia. Stay away.
Amelia pushed herself out of bed, her heart pounding a mournful rhythm against her ribs. The floorboards creaked under her feet, each step a groan of protest. Through the dusty window pane, she saw it. Black Hollow. A shroud of mist clung to the town, obscuring it in a veil of secrecy. The buildings stood hunched and crooked, like weary old men, their windows dark and empty. The silence was unnerving, a suffocating blanket muffling any signs of life. Amelia shivered, a sense of foreboding gripping her heart. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. A low-hanging fog clung to the ground, swirling around Amelia's feet as she stepped out into the deserted street. The silence was unnerving. No birdsong, no laughter, no distant hum of traffic, just an oppressive silence that seemed to press in on her, amplifying the sound of her own heartbeat.
She walked along the cracked sidewalk, her eyes scanning the deserted buildings. Boarded-up storefronts with faded signs hinted at a once thriving community, now reduced to ghostly remnants. The houses stood like watchful sentinels, their paint peeling, their windows like vacant eyes. A shiver ran down Amelia's spine. She felt a presence here, something unseen watching her from the shadows. It was in the rustle of the wind through the trees, in the creak of a loose shutter, in the silence that seemed to hum with a life of its own. Fear, cold and clammy, tightened its grip on her. Daniel's words echoed in her mind. This town has teeth, Amelia. Stay away. But it was too late to turn back. She was here now and she wouldn't leave without answers.
The Black Hollow Library was a towering structure of dark stone, its once grand facade now crumbling with age. The oak doors groaned in protest as Amelia pushed them open, releasing a musty odor of aged paper and dust. Inside, shadows danced in the dim light filtering through grimy windows, falling upon rows of bookcases that seemed to stretch into infinity. Behind a massive oak desk piled high with ancient tomes sat an old woman. Her face was a roadmap of wrinkles, her eyes a piercing blue that seemed to see right through Amelia.
"Can I help you, child?" Her voice was a dry rasp, like the sound of dead leaves rustling in the wind.
"I'm looking for information about Black Hollow," Amelia said, her voice hesitant in the stillness of the library. "Its history, its people."
The old woman's eyes narrowed. "The past is a dangerous thing to dig up, child. Some secrets are best left buried."
Amelia stepped further into the library, her gaze sweeping over the countless spines, each one whispering tales of forgotten lives, of secrets hidden within their pages. The air hung heavy, thick with the scent of aging paper and dust, a testament to the passage of time and the stories these walls held. Sunlight struggled to penetrate the grimy windows, casting the room in a perpetual twilight. The silence here was different from the oppressive hush of the town outside. Here, it was the silence of stories waiting to be told, of secrets yearning to be unearthed.
"My brother," Amelia began, her voice echoing softly in the stillness. "Daniel, he was researching Black Hollow's history."
The old woman remained silent, her gaze fixed on Amelia, a flicker of something unreadable in her eyes. The weight of her scrutiny made Amelia's skin prickle. It was as if the librarian herself were a part of this town's fabric, woven from the same threads of mystery and shadow.
"He mentioned dark legends?" Amelia continued, her voice barely a whisper. "Something about the woods."
The librarian's silence stretched, a palpable thing in the stillness of the library. Amelia could hear the blood pounding in her ears, a frantic drumbeat against the silence. The air seemed to crackle with unspoken words, with warnings hanging heavy in the air.
"The woods hold their own secrets, secrets that are best left undisturbed."
Amelia felt a chill crawl down her spine. The librarian's words were not a warning, but a prophecy. She could sense it now, the truth woven into the very fabric of this town. Black Hollow was more than just a forgotten place. It was a repository of shadows, a sanctuary for secrets that refused to stay buried.
I need to know. My brother. I need to understand what happened to him.
The old woman's gaze bored into Amelia, her eyes like ancient pools reflecting a darkness that ran deeper than Amelia could comprehend. For a moment, Amelia thought she saw a flicker of sympathy, a flicker of understanding in those ancient eyes. The old woman turned, her movements slow and deliberate, and disappeared into the labyrinthine rows of bookshelves. Amelia waited, her heart pounding against her ribs, her breath catching in her throat. The silence of the library pressed in on her, but it was no longer a suffocating silence. It was a silence pregnant with anticipation, with the weight of secrets about to be revealed. A moment later, the librarian emerged from the stacks, a large leather-bound book clutched in her hands. The book was ancient, its cover thick with dust, its spine cracked and worn. Amelia could feel a strange energy emanating from it, a palpable aura of power and darkness. The librarian placed the book on the table with a thud that seemed to reverberate through the room. Amelia leaned forward, drawn to it as if by an invisible force. The title, embossed in faded gold lettering, sent a shiver down her spine. The History of Black Hollow.
This is what you seek. But be warned, child. Some truths are best left buried. Some doors are meant to remain closed.
Section 7. The History of Black Hollow.
Amelia's fingers trembled as she traced the embossed lettering of the title. The leather was cool and dry beneath her touch, like the skin of a long-dead thing. She opened the book, its pages stiff and brittle with age, and a musty odor, redolent of forgotten lore and ancient secrets, wafted up to greet her. The first page was filled with spidery handwriting, the ink faded and brown with the passage of time. It was a journal entry, dated centuries ago, penned by a hand trembling with either fear or fervor.
This town, the entry began, Black Hollow they call it. But it is not a hollow, not a void. It is a vessel, filled to the brim with shadows and whispers. It is a place where the veil between worlds wears thin, where the echoes of the past linger like restless spirits.
Amelia turned the page, her heart pounding against her ribs. The book was a tapestry of dark tales, woven from whispers and legends, from historical accounts and chilling first-hand experiences. There were stories of witchcraft and devil worship, of ancient rituals conducted beneath the pale light of the moon. There were tales of disappearances, of people vanishing without a trace, swallowed whole by the dense woods that surrounded the town. And there were whispers of something ancient and evil that lurked in the heart of Black Hollow, something that watched from the shadows, something that fed on fear and despair. Amelia's breath caught in her throat as she read an entry describing a ritualistic murder. The victim drained of all their blood, their body left as an offering beneath a gnarled, ancient oak tree deep within the woods. The details were chilling, the imagery vivid and disturbing. She could almost smell the metallic tang of blood, feel the cold, dead eyes of the victim staring up at her from the page.
The librarian's words echoed in her mind. Some truths are best left buried.
But Amelia knew she couldn't turn back now. She had to know, had to understand what had happened to her brother, what dark forces had ensnared him in their web. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, casting long, eerie shadows through the library, Amelia closed the book, her mind reeling from the darkness she had unearthed. The weight of the town's history pressed down on her, suffocating her with its legacy of fear and despair. She looked up at the librarian, her eyes searching for answers, for guidance. But the old woman's face was an unreadable mask, her expression giving nothing away. She simply sat there, her piercing gaze fixed on Amelia, as if waiting for her to make a choice. And Amelia knew she had a choice to make. She could walk away from Black Hollow, bury the secrets she had uncovered deep within the recesses of her mind, and try to forget the darkness that clung to this place. Or she could delve deeper, follow the threads of the past, and confront the shadows that haunted this town. Amelia stood, her legs shaky beneath her, her heart pounding a steady rhythm of fear and determination. She glanced back at the book, its leather cover seeming to pulse with a life of its own. The darkness within its pages beckoned her, whispered promises of answers and retribution.
"Thank you," she said to the librarian, her voice barely a whisper.
The old woman simply nodded, her gaze steady and unwavering. Amelia turned and walked towards the library doors, her footsteps echoing in the stillness. As she stepped out into the fading light, the book's words echoed in her mind. Black Hollow is a place where the echoes of the past linger like restless spirits. Amelia took a deep breath, the air thick with the scent of pine and damp earth. The shadows had grown long and deep, stretching out like grasping claws. But Amelia did not flinch. She was not afraid. She was determined. She would find the truth, no matter the cost. The darkness beckoned, and Amelia was ready to answer its call.